Hi everybody, welcome. This is Vicki from Show Dog Prep School. I'm going to go ahead and start sending out shares so people can jump on and know that we're about to get started. Thank you so much for being here. Just going on to share it. And this is the first time we're also doing our live on YouTube, which is kind of cool. And I'm doing that because my husband doesn't do Facebook, but he does go on YouTube a lot. So he suggested, hey, I want to watch it. And I said, oh, well, let me try putting it on there. Okay, so let me share this. Share it to the groups. Sharing it to the mentor program and the coalition. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Hi, Nancy. Thanks for coming. Thank you for being here, friends. I'm so excited. Okay, I'm going to send this to Sheila because she said she can't find it. So I have copies. This is the new book. I thought I would also share with you guys my other books. I was at work the other day and my coworker, who I'm close to at work. But she was like, you wrote a book? I didn't know that. I'm like, I've read several books. So my first book was published in 2007. That is Positive Training for Show Dogs. This was not self-published. This was published through Dogwise, and it is still available on Amazon. And this is like 2007. I mean, this is when I first started trying to get this stuff, my ideas out to the public. So this is my oldest book, and I'd like to redo something that's similar. I didn't write again for a while until I think 2016. My next book, From Shy to Showy, came out, and I had already been doing workshops on this and written blogs about it. So this is probably my most popular book because it's really about helping shy show dogs. At some point, I'll add to that book. Then I wrote this one, which is called Ready, Set, Show, and this is literally a handbook, and everybody who's in my programs gets a free PDF copy of this. And this is just like how dog shows work. I co-wrote Literary Evaluations with my good friend Andrea Stone, and this is how we do. Hi, honey. Hi, Rick. Hi, Barbara. And this is how we evaluate litter. So these are my other books. These are all available. All the books are available on Amazon, and most of them are available on my Show Dog Prep School website as a download. So let's talk about the new book, The Calm Before the Ring. Barbara, yes, I definitely want you to have my new one. Thank you so much, you guys, for your support. So I've been really into this topic for quite a while now because if you saw the interview with Chelsea the other day, you may have seen that I work with a lot of people all over the world. So it's not just people in the US, it's people all over, and it is very much a common issue that people have performance anxiety. And for some people, it makes the show ring experience not fun for them. In fact, it can be really stressful if you aren't enjoying doing this, if you aren't enjoying the process. Oftentimes people will just get out of it or get a handler because it's too scary. And I've been coaching people on that for many years and have a whole bunch of different ideas. And the ideas, as you go through the book, you'll see some actually come from therapy. Some come from ideas that I pulled from a money management course I took. Some pulled from, my past belly dance teacher who I had come and actually teach a class in my mentor program, because the methods that I recommend in this book are used not by only, show dog people. They're methods that are used for people to deal with everyday stress. So, potential relationship confrontations, things like that, but also athletes and performers. We don't prepare our brains to go to the dog show like we should. We just go there and we hope it all goes well. And we would never just go into the ring with an untrained dog. Well, some people would, but most people wouldn't, and certainly they wouldn't in other dog sports like agility or fly ball or something like that. But we will go into the ring with our own mind all over the place, and we're really not doing ourselves any favors when we're not prepared in that way to, to be ready to deal with this and to know how we should be coping with this, because there's a lot of different things we can do. So if you notice, this on the cover is Pinto, and he was a Muttville rescue dog. He was not a show dog. He's a dog that me and my best friend had, and he passed away last year, actually. And or was it earlier this year? Might have been earlier this year. But I really wanted to not have a show dog on the cover, because this is so not just a show dog issue. This is about any dog sport you're doing. And again, any sport you're doing. If you are somebody who is a dancer or in theater or a public speaker, those are all situations that could also bring up these same issues. Interestingly, oftentimes when I have people come to me for this, they or just for show dog training in general, a lot of the times the people that have a real easy time getting into this type of performance, which a show dog presentation is a performance. People who have done theater, people who have been professional dancers, or those kinds of things, a lot of the times have less stress than other people do, or people that have never done that kind of thing, because it's all performative, and all of that can be stressful if that's not something you're used to, or if that's something that makes you nervous or uncomfortable. So that's kind of the focus. I am going to share the table of contents. And you guys, again, feel free if anybody has any questions or anything. The table of contents are the introduction, and then the matter of mindset, and then decluttering your life and your mind, setting yourself up for success, law of attraction, self-sabotage, my triad training technique, home base, journaling, anchoring, your perfect day, meditation, the practical tools, and you got this. So we go through a lot of different things that are not directly the show dog stuff, right? So there's a lot of things that I recommend in the book that are not going to be things that you're going to do at the dog show. And then there's going to be a bunch of things that are things you're going to do right there when you're in the ring. So we've got a lot of different things you can try and do, but it's important to keep in mind that it's like, if you are a mess, like you are all the time, Sheila's watching on YouTube now, nice. If you are all over the place, then you actually might want to go through the whole thing and start out with the decluttering stuff, for instance, that we talk about. Because when we talk about shy show dogs or reactive dogs or aggressive dogs, or dogs with issues in general that have to do with like that kind of arousal stuff, we talk about trigger stacking. And I think when Chelsea interviewed me the other day about the book, we talked about it being like trigger stacking. Like if you are already anxious about a lot of other things, and then you go to the dog show, you're going to be more likely to be nervous because you're already heightened, because you're already not in a good place emotionally and mentally. So I just really want people to get comfortable, like, learning this stuff, because there's so many things you can do. And some of the things are, like just like any type of work we do on ourselves, some of this stuff is, it takes some work. And a lot of it is like not a big deal, things you can just do right in the moment. So if nobody has any questions, I do have the comments up. I do want to tell you, you can order signed copies. I don't know how long I'll have those on there, but I do have signed copies available on the website. They're $20, and I will sign it and send it to you from me directly. You also, of course, can get them on Amazon. You can get a Kindle version on Amazon. This is probably going to be the first book that's going to be my first audiobook. So at some point, once we can get all that recording and stuff worked out, I will be recording this as my first audiobook, and then probably next from Shy to Showy. So it's a little bit too much content to go on the podcast, but a lot of the stuff you've heard me probably talking about if you listen to the podcast. So those are all ways you can get the book. You can also just PayPal the $20 to braveheartdogs@gmail.com if you want to, and I can get your book signed and get it out. Yeah, thanks, Molly. I'm excited about that too. All right, I'm going to do a reading. The first reading from the book. This is from the self-sabotage chapter. So just a couple pages. My national experience. To illustrate how we can self-sabotage ourselves, I want to share an experience that happened to me and how my mindset work allowed me to catch it and turn things around before I let it get out of hand and ruin a very memorable experience for me. I had a very nice female dog I bred. Because her sister was returned to me and had a myriad of issues, I was faced with rehoming this beautiful girl who was sitting on 7 points, which included a 5-point major from the bred by class. I cut her hair down and placed her in another home. After a few months, she had to be returned due to a family issue with the people who acquired her. When she came back, I decided to grow her coat back out and show her. That November, I took her to a show where she picked up her second 5-point major from the bred by class. I decided to pull her from the ring and commit to finishing her at the national specialty, which would happen the following June. Fast forward 7 months to our national specialty weekend at my favorite show, which would be 4 separate opportunities, 2 regional shows, our national specialty, and then an all-breed the following day. After months of planning, preparing, caring for her coat, training, and manifesting this win, the time had come. The first show day was Thursday. I got a late start and couldn't decide what to wear. We weren't late, but I was undecided and feeling rushed. The first day, we won our class. The second day, again, I hadn't decided on my outfit and felt rushed getting her groomed before leaving for the show. She showed beautifully, and we got a huge reserve win that day. On the way home that evening, I realized I was completely self-sabotaging myself. I asked myself why I was so unprepared when I had planned for this show for months. I had more than enough outfits ready to go, and I know exactly what it takes to prepare my girl and get to the show. I made the commitment to choose the next day's outfit as soon as I got home. I also set my alarm clock for an earlier time to ensure that I could do a full bath, blowout, and groom without feeling any pressure from time constraints. The next morning, I was up early and took my time to groom her perfectly. I had my whole outfit set out, so all I had to do was get dressed and go. We showed up at the Nationals ready to roll. And roll we did. I finished her with a national specialty 5-point major from the bred by exhibitor class to finish her. She also won best of winners and best bred by at the largest entry our national breed had ever seen. It was a highlight of my time in that breed and a day I will always remember and cherish. To think that it almost didn't happen because I was allowing bad habits to get in the way was very eye-opening. Thankfully, I was able to recognize what was happening, to go into a mind shift mode and change my behavior. Hi, Elena. So that's true. Like, that's what happened. And I was riding home that day and going, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Like, this is really important to you. Like, you planned this, you manifested this. And I do talk about manifestation, law of attraction and stuff in the book. And I do believe really strongly in that. But manifesting is not about sitting around and hoping something happens. It's wanting something to happen, knowing something's going to happen, and then doing the work to make it happen. And so I had a responsibility there to do, yes, Louisa, the visualization. I do want to say to you guys also that on the Show Dog Prep School website, we have a visualization. It's just, I think it might be 4 minutes, and it's an audio of me just walking you through a visualization exercise because, you know, like I said, like athletes, performers, athletes maybe especially, they would not just go into the arena and not be mentally prepared. They wouldn't. And visualization exercises are very common. And I do believe that there's studies done where like basketball players who do visualizations of making free throws make more free throws. I mean, there's a reason why we use these methods. And so I do talk about the visualization in the book. I do have an audio on that. So yeah, I mean, I just think it's really important. Another thing I talk about in the book is, you know, law of attraction and being very thoughtful about practicing gratitude. And, you know, we all get in good habits and then slip out of those habits, but you really will, I believe very strongly, you will see a change in your life if you practice gratitude and do like a gratitude journal, where every night you just jot down everything that you're grateful for before you go to bed. And sometimes when I'm teaching a workshop, I'll start with the mindset stuff and I'll remind people that, you know, this is like a luxury. Like we're lucky if we get to do this. If we get to have a beautiful dog and we have the ability to go to dog shows and do these events or dog sports, I mean, how lucky are we? So it's so important that we're just always working to shift our mindset and to keep things from letting us slip into negative stuff. We talk a lot in the book about distorted thoughts and how distorted thoughts are not factual. You know, they're just stuff our minds tell us. Well, what am I doing here? We never win, you know, and we have exercises for like, you have to unpack that because distorted thoughts are not true. And so there are exercises you can do to actually, you know, teach yourself to have different thoughts and to plan different thoughts. Catherine, can't wait for your copy. Thank you. Thank you for that, Catherine. Andrea said, ironically, one of my personal best performances for being in the moment and showing my dog to her best was one of the wildest, most emotionally charged weekends I've ever had. I think I was so whacked out, I couldn't even think enough to mess myself up and was just totally present. Well, and that's the thing is that, you know, one of the first things I really want people to look for when they're working on the mindset stuff is the moments when you can actually realize that you are able to be present in the ring, because that's important, because oftentimes people are just on autopilot. They just go in there and they just sort of do things, and people will tell me, I can't believe I did that. Like, I know better than that. Like, that's not what I want to do. That wasn't my plan. I know how to do it. But when you have performance anxiety, just like when a dog has anxiety, you know, you start to, you just behave differently. Your mind is not thinking about the things you need to think of. That's why for our dogs who have issues with being in the ring, just like with them, we have to get our heads together before we can plan on being able to go in there and be successful and do it how we intend to do it. Because if you're not there, if your mind is not there, or you're all over the place, and all over the place could be frazzled, or it could just literally be frozen, unable to do anything except for absolutely just be on autopilot and get through it. Barbara said, not factual, filled with voices that are trying to tear us down. That is a really good definition of distorted thoughts. Like, they're just not true. And, you know, I really ask people to go through those thoughts and pull them apart and figure out, like, you know, what's the truth about this? Like, let's say your distorted thought is that, you know, we never win. Well, if you've won before, the fact is sometimes you do win. If you've never won before, probably you will win. I mean, if you have a quality dog, probably, you know, you're going to win at some point. So it's really looking at, like, you know, what your yucky thought is and then what the fact is, and then creating a new thought that can, make everything, that can make you not feel like that. Because I'm going to read you another part of the book in a second, so I don't want to talk too much about that piece. But, how we're feeling really is reflected in how we look in the ring. So we really, really have to be on top of our mental state and our emotional state. Barbara said, I want to be able to treat every entering in the ring like my Westminster experience. I pull myself to be thoughtful, amazed, and in the moment. Love that time. Yeah, being in the moment's important. And I mean, it's like, especially if, you have a sensitive dog, you have to be in the moment. You have to be present for your dog, because if you have a dog who's at all sensitive and you go into the show ring and then you act like, a weirdo, like not like yourself, and you behave differently and you talk differently and everything is different, that's not going to be comforting for a dog who's looking for direction and support. Louisa said, Vicki, if you feel like you've done your homework with your dog and you're ready to go and enjoy your time in the ring, and you catch a little snide remark negate at some such, how do you put that out of your mind? It can be such a distraction, taking you away from your dog. That is such a good question. And that's an interesting thing Louisa brought up, because oftentimes, so much of the time, the issue is, for a lot of people, not necessarily stressed about the show ring, but they're stressed about relationships that they have, right? Or they're stressed about, the people, or they're stressed about, this guy who says that or does that. And it's hard if it's like they just are saying something like not to you. If it's a confrontation, so like, I'm worried I'm going to see this person and they're going to come up to me, and what am I going to say? Well, I think you should have a script of what you're going to say. And I think it doesn't need to be anything more than, my dog has to go outside right now and I have to go, and you get out of there. Like, you don't have to engage in that, right? You literally don't have to engage in that. So I don't want people to go there and then get sucked into having to have a conversation with someone that they don't want to have or they don't feel comfortable having. So if it's that kind of thing where it's like, oh, I'm going to see so-and-so and they're going to want to, say this or give me unsolicited advice or, yell at me about this, then my recommendation is just to not engage. Because, and this kind of goes with just the snide remark comment too, Louisa, because here's the thing. The way that animals learn is universal, right? So it doesn't matter if you're a non-human animal or a human animal, or you're a dog or you're a parrot or you're, a human or whatever you are. We all learn the same way. And behaviors are only reinforced or maintained in a few different ways. And one of those ways is through positive reinforcement. That means you add something that the learner, the person who does the behavior, finds reinforcing, and it causes them to do it again. So, as hard as it is, if somebody does make that snide comment and they are intending for you to hear it and you react to it, you've reinforced their behavior. Therefore, their behavior will happen again. And I know it sounds like, yeah, so just ignore it. And it's like, yeah, just ignore it. Because just like with dogs, like if you don't reinforce those behaviors that you don't, oh, you're so sweet. If you don't reinforce those behaviors, they have to go away. There's nothing else that can happen. They have to go away. And people who, make nasty comments are usually doing it to get a reaction. They want to hurt someone's feelings. They want to, make somebody feel bad and just not be kind. I mean, it's not nice. So my first recommendation, totally ignore it. But also the other thing is to find the good. You know what I mean? Like, look for the good stuff, look for the nice stuff. Nancy will remember this because, my whole jam, right, is like trying to make dog shows enjoyable for dogs and for people. I want to make it good for them. And years ago, I'd gone to a Clicker Expo, which is a big clicker training conference, and I went a bunch of times, and they had this thing where if you saw somebody doing something you liked, so maybe they were doing something nice with their dog, or they were doing some really nice training, or they were nice to a person, they held a door for someone, you could get a ticket. So everybody got 2 tickets to start with, and then as people were, saw things they liked other people do, they could give them a ticket. And then at the end there was like prizes or something for people who had the most tickets. So several years ago, I started a thing. I don't do it anymore, but I had bought a bunch of little charms, and and my friend Stacy Brazel Schneck, dog trainers will know who she is, had suggested, why don't you do something like this? Like, because she realized that I was getting so stressed out seeing things I didn't like at the dog show that I was actually seeking that stuff out. So I would see something I didn't like someone treating a dog harshly or roughly, and then I would be morbidly fascinated and unable to look away, and then I would be depressed about it, and then like not want to be at the dog show. So she was like, we need to have a way for you to looking for and seeking things you like. So for a while, I would have these charms, and I had a little paper, and I would give them to people and just be like, that was, I saw something that you did that I thought was really nice with your dog, basically giving them something for doing positive reinforcement with their dog. And I mentioned Nancy because I remember I gave one to Nancy at one time at a dog show. So, I've had to really do that, and I've had to redo it several times. And, I think it was a few years ago where I just saw somebody being really rough with a dog, and it was somebody who's supposed to be like this respected handler, and it was very upsetting to me. And the owner was standing there, nobody cared. This dog was like, just being tortured, and it wasn't like the person was doing anything rough with the dog. They were just forcing a fearful dog that needed help and needed to get out of there. And I was so upset. And then I realized, oh my God, like that's law of attraction. I'm attracting that because I'm looking at that, and I'm continuing to look at that. So I'm like, I have to force myself to start really seeking out the teams that I want to look at, the teams that I find inspiring, and all that kind of stuff, and just really looking for that, because that's what I want to see, and that's what inspires me, and that's what makes me want to keep doing it when I see things that are, inspiring teams that make me happy, all that kind of stuff. So it's also looking for that. And I also think, like, as much as you can, having like a tribe or a group at the dog show is really helpful. And I love hanging with groups of people that have different breeds, and so it's just not all the same breed, and we're all there for each other. And if something icky happens, you can immediately go over to your friends and like just chill out and relax, and then start laughing again. So I think that that's also super important too. Okay, I'm gonna read another piece out of here. This is from the chapter, The Practical Tools. These are in the ring guidelines. Before we go through all the individual tools that you can do at the dog show and in the ring, I'd like to go through some guidelines for you to follow while in the ring. As a positive reinforcement trainer, my goal is always to focus on what I want you to do rather than what you shouldn't do. However, in this case, I think it's important to give you some things you shouldn't do, since keeping these things in mind can also keep you focused. Additionally, some people are very conditioned to learning by way of being told no or what not to do. Either way, I want you to have some specifics that you can practice and not doing when in the show ring, as well as things you should do in the ring. Here we go. Do not compare yourself to other handlers in the ring. Do not compare your dog to other dogs in the ring. Do not listen to unsolicited advice while in the ring. Do not engage with people shouting unsolicited advice. Again, that's reinforcing that behavior. Do focus on your dog and yourself. Do remember to breathe. Do remember to smile and engage with your dog. Do your best to enjoy yourself and allow your dog to enjoy their time with you in the ring. Of course, a dog show is a competition and you will be aware of your competition in the ring, but don't allow this to creep into your head and affect your presentation of your dog. Oftentimes, people see who the other dogs entered are or who the other handlers are and immediately shut down or feel defeated without even realizing it. When your mind has given up and already believes you won't win, this affects your body language and how you present your dog. Do not allow yourself to compare yourself or your dog to other handlers or dogs in the ring. It doesn't matter who is there in the ring with you. You have just as much of a chance of winning as the next person. When you step into that ring, step in to win. Show your dog to the absolute best of your ability, even if you feel like you might not win. For one thing, we don't want you to practice showing your dog in a way that is lacking confidence or stamina, because that can become habitual. Also, your dog is going to show differently when you are behaving differently. Don't allow your brain to tell you that you have lost or that you will lose. So that's really important too, is just being super aware of like your body language and how you're going to present yourself in the ring. I mean, people who are just like dogs, like who are looking down and crouched down and in pulling in, are not wanting to be conspicuous. And you don't have to be flamboyant and over the top, but you do have to be willing to be seen in a way that allows you to actually present your dog. And sometimes when I talk about things like on the page, like about how people dress, and dressing to enhance your dog and stuff, people will say like, well, it should just be about the dog. Aren't we just supposed to be looking at the dogs here? And the answer is, of course you're looking at the dogs. But I look at it as a painting or a picture, and the dog is the focus and the background is part of that piece of art, and you're back there. And so you're, part of the background of that presentation. And so you are a part of it, like it or not. So it doesn't mean you have to be over the top. And it doesn't mean that that's the most important thing. It's not the most important thing. The most important thing is the dog and the quality of the dog, right? But you are a part of that picture. And so I think it's important to, that we practice having confidence and not feeling defeated. And also, I just, like, there's so many stories I could tell you. Like, I'm going to share Nancy because Nancy's on here. Nancy won the breed with her dog and was like, she was a class dog. And I think she was the only Bichon entered. And Nancy's like, oh, I'm just going to go home. We're not going to do anything in group. No, I guess we'll stay. And so she stayed and she won a group one. And she finished her bitch with a 5-point major by winning a group one placement. And it's like, that's why we don't give up. That's why, Danny in the mentor program, she just, went to a dog show last weekend and brought her puppy back out. And he's been away hunting and now he's back. And she's like, well, we'll go. And he won a group placement. Like, these are big deals, and you can't win if you're not there. Okay, let's see. We have some comments. We are a part of the picture we are creating. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's all that presentation. Lisa said, how we present ourselves contribute or deter from the dog. Absolutely. Cherie said, and don't be intimidated if a big time handler showed the dog the day before. That's so sweet. So I think what Cherie is referring to is a couple weeks ago, Cherie was coming out to a dog show and she said, do you want to show Puck for me at this show? And it's a Bichon. And I was like, well, if you do his hair, I'll show him. But, I think I hadn't met, wait, maybe I did meet Puck one time. Did he come to Woodstock before? But I'd never shown the dog and I'd never shown a Bichon. And he was going to come and be shown on Thursday and Friday by Taffy McFadden one day and Bill McFadden one day, which I'm sure everybody here knows. The McFaddens are like a huge, huge, huge handling team. I mean, just like otherworldly, super amazing handlers. They win a lot, and they are extremely helpful and nice to people. And but yeah, if they win, and so they won a major on Thursday and a major on Friday, and I was like, okay, well, I hope, and I won a 4 point major, specialty major, and I think he won best of winners both days too on Friday, and then like a 3 point specialty major on Saturday or on Saturday and Sunday. So that was really cool because, you know, I never showed that breed of dog before, but my friend asked me if I wanted to do that. And I do, she said I had not met him. I do like to experiment and play with other dogs. My rule for showing other dogs is that it can't compete with my own dogs. So I was actually going to show him on Friday, but there was a conflict with dachshunds. So that's why Bill showed him on Friday. But yeah, so that's just really super, it's super fun and exciting. And I'm not gonna like the rules for me showing a dog for someone are that, one, my dogs come first. So I have to, tend to them first. But then two, you know, I'm not going to make dogs that are worried or upset or force dogs to do things, right? So it's like, I was really happy that Puck was really accepting of me and was just like, sure. He was actually really easy and fun to train and very similar to showing a Lao Chin, actually. And so it was really fun. But, I mean, I'm not going to not try. I'm not going to just assume because I've never shown a Bichon that we're not going to win. I'm not going to assume that he only won the day before because Bill McFadden was showing him, and he only won the day before that because Taffy was showing him. It's like, no, he's a nice dog and I'm a decent handler. And so, you know, that's that was a good combination for him. Barbara said, I'm showing a golden in 2 weeks. He is adorable, and I have known him since he was a puppy, but it is the golden ring. Yeah, the golden ring. Some of the rings are pretty intimidating. And I have shown a golden before, and it's tough, especially, we have another big handling family here in Northern California that's just like golden central. I mean, they show a lot of goldens and they win with a lot of goldens. But one of the things that I'm always talking about, like just pressing with owner handlers, is like, it's not just the handling, and it's just not the quality of the dog, and it's just not the training. Okay. So you can get a quality dog. You can do the training once you know how to do it. You can dress decent and, go in there looking like you're together. But the grooming is a big part of it. And for like the Bichons, that's huge. Like, we were lucky to have a really generous, nice lady there who's friends with Cherie, and now I got to know her, who is like letting me ask questions and running over and helping us and just super supportive. But yeah, in breeds like the golden ring, the Bichon ring, oh my gosh, the poodle ring. I mean, you have to have that grooming down. And I am now just getting into wire hair dachshunds. We've had wires, but just showing my first ones. And the two puppies, I mean, I'm not bringing the girl out into the middle of next year. I really want to get this grooming thing down. And I think she's really something special. And so I'm going to invest that time in just letting her grow up, working on her training, working on the grooming, getting this all together instead of like trying to bust her out right now. That's what happens a lot of the time, where people get upset because they're not being successful in the show ring. But sometimes it's because people are showing puppies. And I always tell people that, like, if you're going to show a puppy, that's your, tuition for your education. And that is your journey. Like, you should not expect to win with a puppy. You might. I mean, people do win. I've, put puppies in the ring and then, just expected them not to do anything and finished them really quickly. But it's also not uncommon for puppies to take longer, especially in bigger breeds, and especially with judges who just don't trust that a puppy's going to hold it together. They want to see adults so they can see what the dog looks like as a grown dog. Barbara said, fortunately, he is a special and there's a pro groomer. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, having a groomer help is really a big deal. I mean, there's so many like specific things about them. And, like I show the dachshund puppies. I mean, if they're okay with it and they're having fun and they don't look hideous and dreadful, I'm happy to show them. But I'm not expecting really to win, and I'm okay if I don't win. Showing pups is brutal, though. What the 9-year-old kid did with yeah, exactly. I mean, it can be challenging, but also, it can be really cool. Nancy said some breeds do better as puppies or youngsters. Loud chin. Yeah, that's what we've decided to do with Bloom. Just put her in the work. Yeah, exactly. That's really a smart thing to do, is just to like take your time, easing them in. Now, if you have a dog who, like I said, doesn't look dreadful, looks pretty decent for their age, and likes it and is super stable and well adjusted, I'll show them. Like I've been showing Daphne since she was a, puppy. She just turned a year old. She's only got a handful of points, but she's slower to mature. And but she loves it. And so I don't care. I'm good with that. So it's that stuff is kind of all personal decision and what we want to do and what else we have to show at home. Some people just love showing, and so you're excited to get out there with what you have, and I think that's totally okay, as long as the dog's ready for it and as long as we're not pushing them. But I do think that another way that we can help ourselves, that I think I talk about in the book, is just, part of the preparation is training the dog. You're going to be less stressed out if you have a dog that you feel like you can pretty much rely on. And that's how I felt with Puck. I mean, I worked with him for a few minutes. I was like, okay, we're going to be okay. That's a big part of it. And so if you get there and you feel like you're just, it's not going to be good, then that's when it gets more stressful. If you feel like you can rely on the dog, then the showing part, I think, it takes a lot of the pressure off, because you feel like, ooh, he's going to be okay, and this is not going to be a horrible experience. It's going to be pretty good. Does anybody have any questions? I do want to say that I think I mentioned before, some of the things that we talk about in here came from therapists. Some of the ideas I've seen performers do. Some of them are just my own ideas, like my triad training technique, where we actually are, we call it redefining winning, where we're not just looking at ribbons as our source of, success. Cherise said, would you say practice fake it till you make it? Yeah, I would. And I've talked about that before too, because, that's part of that, even if you're nervous, trying to look confident, right? Trying to look like you're together, because how you look does affect how the dog looks and how the dog is, gonna perform. I'm going to show you one of the techniques that's in the book. This is one of the things that I'm not going to talk about. Okay, if you order the book on Amazon, it will not be signed. It will just come from Amazon. If you want a signed copy, you have to go to my website, showdogprepschool.com. And then you're going to go into on the menu where it says more, click on that and click on books, and the signed copies will be the first one. Okay, one of the things I talk about for managing anxiety is bilateral stimulation. I cannot tell you exactly, I can't tell you exactly how it works, but I can tell you that it does work. And I did get this from a therapist, but then I've seen lots of variations of it. And I also, you can find like music that is bilaterally created. And basically it's just, you can do it on any two sides of your body, but generally it's here. And basically you're just like this. It's just this tapping like this, back and forth. There is something about this bilateral stimulation that helps to regulate the brain. Now you can also do it like on your knees, and it's just alternating those taps. Boom, boom, boom. Things like this that are like start to regulate how you're breathing and how your heart is beating and that kind of thing can be really, really beneficial. Catherine said, I really appreciate the holistic mind body look to dogs and humans that you take. I appreciate that. I think it's so important. It's interesting. I had a private session with a person the other day, and they had a dog, and they told me that he doesn't eat. He doesn't eat. And you know, eating is a primary reinforcer. Like, we don't have to learn to eat. This is what we do. If you don't eat, you die. So no animals don't eat. So if a dog won't eat unless all the other dogs in the family are staring at him, I'm like, yeah, that worries me a little bit. So we can do this training for all this stuff, and a lot of this stuff is focus stuff. But I'm like, we have to address that. He's out of balance if he can't eat food unless he's doing it because he's being stared at by other dogs. And that probably means he's living in a fairly, a heightened state of anxiety. So I started saying, well, what's his gut like? Like, what do we know? Is he having, like, are you giving him probiotics? Like, I want to talk more about what he's eating. We may have to try other types of food. Like, this is like something we have to address. And that's always something that you don't know how it's going to go over. Some people are like, oh, I don't think that has anything to do with it. And it's like, well, if you didn't ever want to eat at all, you would think there was some kind of problem with it. Or if like I've had people say, well, he has diarrhea every day. And it's like, that's not right. Like, if a dog walks around constantly out of balance like that, unwell, then we're not going to do training. Like, we have to address the health issue, the body issue, this whole other piece of the animal that's out of balance. So I started talking to this client, and she said, oh my gosh, I hadn't thought of that. I have all sorts of stomach issues. Like, she has major issues. And so we know now, it used to be like the brain rules the whole body, but now we actually know that the gut rules maybe even the brain. I mean, the gut of our body creates a lot of good or bad that's going on with us. So I really was like, I really want to figure out what's going on, because that could clear up a lot of the issues. If this dog is, really not okay inside his body, then and in his gut, then that could be affecting how his brain is thinking. So yeah, I'm really about a super, holistic approach that we look at everything. And sometimes, you know, yeah, exactly. Sometimes, there have been a lot of dogs I've worked with over the years that a behavior issue ended up being a health issue. I mean, I could just tell you stories, and some of them are really sad. I mean, I remember working with a lady who I wasn't even doing this type of like aggression, reactivity, upset dog stuff anymore. And she had two giant breed dogs, and they were just, she was working with trainers who were they were just getting a bigger stick every time. Okay, well, let's do this. And okay, now how about this collar is not working anymore? So how about if we put him on this kind of collar, and we do this to him and we do that to him? And it's like, someone just said, why don't you just meet with Vicki? So I did a session with her, and she had this giant dog, and he wasn't allowed to do anything. It's like, he just, it's just like he was, everything was under control. And what had happened was, she had told him to do something, and he jumped up, and he was as tall as she was, and he put his paws on her and just like pushed her and was like, I'm done with you, because she was doing things that hurt him. So when we were working together, I said, okay, well, ask him to sit down. And she asked him to sit down, and he didn't. And she asked him again, and he didn't. And like, she corrected him. And I said, ask him to lay down. And boom, he just flew into a down. Okay, ask him to get up. Ask him to lay down again. Flew down into a down. And then I said, walk him around for me. And it's like, this dog's hips were non existent. I mean, he was in so much pain. He wasn't sitting down because he's a jerk. He wasn't sitting down because he was in pain, and sitting down hurts. And so it was just creating this, oh, this horrible, like push and pull, and this animosity between this woman and her dog that really didn't need to be there. He wasn't being defiant and challenging her. He was in pain and saying, I really can't do that. And we worked together and worked on a lot of stuff where he was allowed to have some choice, and it was like a little bit of grace was given. And but I mean, there's been a lot of cases that I worked on where it does end up being a health issue. Sometimes allergies are so bad that they can create, anxiety and issues within the dog. Even with show dogs, if a dog has a physical limitation and they're a sensitive or nervous dog, a physical limitation is going to increase anxiety because that dog knows that he has that limitation. He is not able to navigate his body the way he should be able to or would like to be able to. Any other questions? So the book is called The Calm Before the Ring. Managing performance anxiety in dog shows and sports. It's not just for show dogs, and it's not just for dog stuff. It's for any kind of, any kind of anxiety issues where you get in your own head in a way that is not helping you. It's every time I write a book, I'm like, how is this book only 80 pages? 81 pages. Like, I feel like I wrote it for a long time. But when I was talking to Chelsea, she said, I actually think that's good. I like to reread books that are only this big, and I like to be able to look up parts of it. So, again, I want to thank everybody. Oh, look at Rick said, want to have wine and watch a scary movie. Yes, honey, I do. I do want to do that in just a few minutes. So you can, thank you. Thanks, you guys. I really appreciate that. Again, if you want a signed copy, you can buy signed copies, order them on the website, because then I can sign them. Or if you're somebody like Elena, you can order yours on Amazon. And then when I see you, bring it to the dog show and I'll sign it for you. I'm happy to do that. But yeah, so you can get a downloadable PDF off my website, also off Show Dog Prep School. If you just want it like in your phone, you can get a Kindle version off of Amazon. And soon, it's going to be an audiobook, assuming I can figure out the, all the technology around that. We'll see. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you. Thank you, Louisa. I appreciate that. You guys are so kind. I really appreciate all the support, and I appreciate you guys being here. So I hope you love the book. Yeah, Nancy, you can absolutely just get it on the website, and it's a PDF download, or again on Kindle. I read a lot of books on Kindle, and so that's where I like to get mine. Thanks, you guys. Thank you all so much for being here. I so appreciate all of you. And oh, I'm so glad. I'm really glad, Alyssa. Yeah, I feel really strongly, you guys, that this is a very neglected part of what we do. We're not putting enough time into our own mindset and our own mental preparation, and it's important, and it's not that hard. And once you have the tools, you own the tools. Like, you can do it, and you can do it with anything at any time. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. I really appreciate it, and I hope you love the book when you get it. Thanks, Louisa. Yep, it absolutely can be on Kindle too. Thanks, everybody. Have a great